This is an AFL.com.au special report. Hello everyone, I'm Matt Thompson. Well, in breaking news, after 9 years at the helm of the AFL's Football Operations Department, Adrian Anderson is leaving. He fronted a news conference a short time ago with Chief Executive Andrew Demetriou.
I was advised by many people that I should appoint someone who was within football, someone who was at a football club, someone who was experienced in the game, someone who knew all the ins and outs. And I resisted that because what I was seeking was, someone who had the capacity and the capabilities and the expertise to tackle this role, which much of relates to regulatory and legal and analytical. But most importantly, I wanted someone of the highest integrity, someone who we could trust, someone who would never cut a corner, someone who would act always in the best interests of the game, someone who loved the game, and someone who I knew would always do things without ever wavering on the issue of integrity. And that's exactly what we got with Adrian. That's what I've got, and I'm very, very grateful for that.
It's hard to believe that it's 9 years since, as a 31-year-old sitting peacefully at my desk at Cause, that Andrew called me and suggested I might want to take this role on. And 3 kids and a lot of water under the bridge later, sitting here today. It's been an incredible privilege for me to work in this role for our great game. It's a game that's never lost on me about how much it means to the Australian community, and it's been I'd like to thank you, Andrew, and the Commission for the opportunity I've had to serve our great game in this role. It really is something I will forever treasure.
I think on the one hand, I've got no doubt that Adrian will get a number of calls before the end of the day about people who'll be interested in what he does next, because he's got an incredible, from my perspective, an incredible capacity to give, and he would be someone who will be sought after. And I suspect that my phone will be ringing this afternoon with lots of people telling me that I'll be the greatest general manager of football operations we've ever had. So I'll field all those. But look, I'll sit down with the executive team and, of course, the Commission and talk about our options, but I haven't really given it much thought.
I think people sometimes underestimate the threat posed to the integrity of our game by both issues relating to especially gambling and performance-enhancing drugs. And I'm really pleased with the efforts our team's made to really position our sport at the forefront of integrity, and I hope internationally. That can be for others to judge. But once you lose confidence of the public in the integrity of your contest, I think it's a slippery slope. And it's not to say that there's not more work to be done there, but I think that's something, and I know Andrew appreciates and the Commission understands and appreciates the importance of guarding the integrity in the future. And not just our sport, all sports face some real threats in that area. So that's one, Jake, that I would highlight. No, I'm not burnt out, and I'm looking forward to my next challenge. There are some unique challenges in this role, and it is full on, but I've loved every minute of it, and I wouldn't take any of it back. And I've still got a lot of energy and enthusiasm, and I've loved what I've been able to do in this role. I just think the time's right to do something else now.
Adrian Anderson speaking there alongside Andrew Demetriou. I'm joined by senior writer Ashley Brown. Ashley, thanks for your time as always. On a breaking story, this has caught, I think, a lot of people by surprise today, but clearly Adrian's been thinking about it for a few weeks. He leaves a big legacy. He's done a lot of stuff over the past 9 years. Yeah,
not many people in footy saw it coming today, Matt. Look, he's changed. He's had some sweeping responsibilities in his time at the AFL. The head of football operations has always been a really key role at the AFL. There were legendary figures like Alan Schwab and Ian Collins who did it before him, then Andrew Demetriou for a while, but he's come in and he's made major changes to things like the tribunal, to the drugs policy, to integrity in the game, made it safer to play. And he's, as he said in his media conference, Matt, the two things he's pulled off, he's made the game safer to play while at the same time keeping the contest alive.
He says it's his call. There has been some change at the executive level, though, here at the AFL over the course of the off-season with a couple of other key figures leaving. There is a lot of change happening. Yeah, well, someone from the AFL was telling me while this was going on during the media conferences, the executive was unchanged for a long time. The AFL now, there's been 3. There's been Christina Ogg,
Andrew Catterall and now Adrian as well. So it's been fundamental changes, but Andrew Demetriou stays in charge, and as he said, Matt, still a lot of the other guys in the executive remain there as well.
Now, Adrian says he hasn't decided what he wants to do next. He says he really hasn't had time to think about what he will do next. He's just been making this decision and obviously still doing his job. Could he be headed to a rival code, and would that be a disappointment, I guess, for the AFL if that's where he goes, or do you think he could go back into the law?
Well, I mean, the North Melbourne chief executive job's out there at the moment. He'd be a huge catch for the Kangaroos. He didn't rule it out, but didn't sound overly enthusiastic about it. Having said that, he's just finished up the AFL now and has got his future to consider. The Australian Rugby Union are looking for someone to replace John O'Neill, so that obviously they would, I'm sure, would have a chat to him. The ARU of Longman and admirer of the AFL. They've slipped down to number 3. Some would say number 4 in the football pecking order in the country. So to get someone in from the AFL into rugby would be a huge gain for them. But of course, it'll be a move to Sydney and a whole new sport for Adrian.
All right, something that has been talked about a lot today as this story has been unfolding is the fact that Adrian Anderson's role is kind of football's policeman. He's the chief commissioner of police, if you like, in a football sense. He's the guy who enforces the rules and runs the competition on a day-to-day basis. Of course, one of the big issues he's been dealing with is the Melbourne tanking investigation. So where does that sit now that Adrian Anderson is leaving the helm? Well, it sounds like he's not going to see it through.
I'm not sure if it'll be finished before the time I leave, but I can tell you what will be in place is there's a team that's working on this that's a very professional team and led by Brett Clothier, our integrity manager, who's done an outstanding job on that investigation. So a lot of the hard yards have been done in that investigation. Where it goes from here and how long that takes, is open-ended at the moment, but I'm confident that we've got the people in place to make sure that's dealt with thoroughly and professionally.
Now, we don't have an exact date for when Adrian is going to leave his post. There will be a transition period, we've been told. But the news out of that, I think, is that the Melbourne tanking investigation is not going to be finished tomorrow.
It's incredibly complicated, Matt, so I would imagine that this is going to drag on. Look, the AFL will shut down for a few weeks in a couple of weeks over the Christmas New Year period, so I'm anticipating, I reckon, February, March before that's wrapped up, perhaps in time for before the season launch in the middle of March. But he won't see it through to the end, but I think it sounds like Brett Clothier has broken the back of it.
And just finally, before we go, in terms of succession, any candidates come to mind? Andrew Demetriou says his phone's going to be running hot. It'll be a sought-after position, but as Andrew said today, it's an unpopular role.
Well, look, the precedent with Adrian was to go outside football, to a guy who was a fan of the game but from outside. The one candidate to watch from inside the game might be Brendan Gale, a former head of the Players Association like Andrew, with a legal background, and of course now is the Chief Executive of Richmond. One to watch.
All right. Thank you very much, Ash. Appreciate it.
Good to be here.
Ashley Brown with us. I'm Matt Thompson. This has been AFL.com.au Breaking News.